Yes, that's right. The Snow-It-Alls are here. Game of Thrones Season 8,
Wow.
Episode 4 is over, but we are just getting started live after this wild episode of Game of Thrones. And now, here are the two guys who are going to have to keep their heads on straight tonight. I am Rob Sister here with Stephen Fishback. Oh my goodness, Stephen. Wow.
Whenever you do that air trumpet, I just feel like it's so good. It's so good that I mistakenly think that I'm actually watching the show.
Yes.
Like, wait, didn't I just watch Game of Thrones? Like, how is it possibly?
Okay, Stephen Fishback. Okay. How are you holding up? Okay.
I'm good. I'm all in one piece, which is more than we can say for some of these characters.
Wow. Okay. So, big, wild episode tonight. Big death at the end. Missandei, we have a lot of people expected her to not make it out of the Battle of Winterfell. She did. Didn't make it through tonight's episode. Rhaegal also. Surprise death tonight.
I was annoyed about the Rhaegal death because it did seem like, by all rational, reasons, he should have died last week. And clearly, like, the only reason he didn't die last week was just so he could die this week. So that he could die via crossbow. It's kind of sad. It's kind of
sad.
And just hopefully we'll talk about military tactics, which is always our strong suit when we get there. But the direct assault. It consistently not working out for Dany and her forces. Just go in straight up, straight on the front. I will say that dragons are much more maneuverable than boats. They just go around from behind. Just go around from behind.
Oh, you say sneak attack them.
Or even just they're firing crossbows. Let's reverse, go around, roast them from behind.
Yeah, somehow the boat snuck up on the dragon.
yeah.
But all right, well, we got a lot to get to. Stephen, am I crazy that this was my favorite episode out of the four so far in this season?
Oh, wow. I mean, I really liked episode 2. And I think that the first half of this had a lot of the real virtues of episode 2, where you had a lot of those character moments. And it felt too, whereas episode 2, there was this real sense of tentativeness. It felt like some of these character moments were paying off. I mean, obviously, throughout. The plot stuff, I was a little. Well, tell me. I guess it was a good combination. That's kind of what you're saying, right?
Yeah, I felt like that. I felt like this episode really had everything. We had a battle. We had all of the character moments at Winterfell, and then we had so much of the scheming and plotting and palace intrigue that I really enjoy about the show. So to me, this episode had everything, and I felt like that the first 2 episodes I felt like going in we're going to be pretty formulaic in terms of, okay, we're going to set up, and then last week was going to be all battle. This week I didn't really know what to expect, and it was kind of one thing for 40 minutes, and then it was a different thing in the second 40 minutes.
Yeah, and I guess you're right. It was sort of great. It did sort of have it all, like everything that Game of Thrones is good for. You had speculated that this would be sort of a plate setting or table setting episode for the kind of the 2 final episodes, and it was that. It seemed like it was that, and it was also kind of a table clearing episode where certainly in the first half you had a lot of characters just sort of saying goodbye. Right? We said goodbye to Tormund, we said goodbye to Sam, and maybe they'll pop up again, but they're obviously not going to be. Maybe they'll pop up waving goodbye from their force halo, at the end of Star Wars. But spoilers from Star Wars.
And also, I felt like that a lot of points in this episode, I didn't know where it was going, and honestly, I was on the edge of my seat at the end of the episode. I didn't know how it was going to wrap up.
Yeah. Well, that's the benefit of watching a few minutes later than everybody else, because everything will be spoiled for you on Twitter as it happens.
Is that what happened to you?
Yeah, I was like, okay.
But you were tweeting.
Yeah, I know. It was my own fault. My own fault. Live by the tweet, die by the tweet. But I could imagine if I hadn't been spoiled that I would be worried for Tyrion.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. So, Steven, let's start at the end. Of course, if you want to get your tweets into the show, at Rob Cesternino, got Twitter open if you want to send us your comments. Of course, feedback show coming up on Tuesday this week with Josh Wigler. Check out everything he's doing for THR. He's at Round Howard on Twitter. Send your questions in GOT at postshowrecaps.com. All right. Steven, so we ended the episode with Daenerys walking back. Now, is Daenerys going to hop on Drogon and retreat, or is she getting on Drogon and then going to start her attack?
It does seem pretty likely that they're going to do a full frontal slaughter, right? I mean, it seems like they're sort of setting up, and Missandei's last word is Dracarys, right? Which is basically burn it all. So,
Yeah.
I mean,
I thought Drogon was going to hear her.
Really? Did you?
Yeah. Well, apparently Drogon, that it's sort of like your iPhone, where if you try to talk to my internet-enabled assistant, it's not going to work.
Right. So it's not like just anyone can say Drogon, Drogon Dracarys, and then he'll he really has to be Dany's voice. Although sometimes with these internet assistants, you can program a couple of voices. So maybe Drogon, he's got a couple.
Well, they can talk in different voices, but I think it still goes by your, if you try to pick up your friend's iPhone, I don't know if that works.
I can do it, but you can ask, like my wife has programmed.
Okay. You have that set up. Okay.
Yeah. So
boy, you guys are sharing phones. That's
that's for Alexa. Okay. Anyway, so what's your take? So you think it's going to be, because we know that we have this army coming from the north. It's going to take them a little while to get there. As always, Sansa is very concerned with stores and everyone's fatigue. It's basically a resource level.
Yeah.
But Daenerys not so concerned with those things. And then you've got, Daenerys' more, smaller expeditionary force that's right there at the gates of King's Landing. What's your take? What's going to happen next?
I don't know. I think that Dany is gonna buzz, the King's Landing, but I don't know if she's gonna have the heart necessarily to, burn the city with, thousands and thousands of people inside those walls.
But she's wanted to be. She's been pitching the burn them all plot for seasons now. I mean, I think a lot of was it season 7 or season 6 was her basically saying, well, what if we just burn everyone? And then kind of everyone's talking her out of it. And then she's like, but what if we set fire to everyone in King's Landing? And it really does. I mean, from my perspective, it really seems like that's where she's going. And certainly it seems like her advisors, all of their concern about how she might not be a fit ruler, I feel like that's a new concern for her. Dany's whole thing has been what a great ruler she is. She frees the people. She cares about the people. And this new turn where people are scared of her as a queen is kind of a new development.
Yeah, it's wild. This episode, I think, really, Daenerys stock has really bottomed out here in this episode. When we talk about that, wrapping up the series with her on the Iron Throne, it's getting harder and harder to imagine that. She has fewer and fewer people in her corner, where it seems like that the only person that really still believes in her is Tyrion.
Yeah, and that was such a great scene between Tyrion and Varys, where Tyrion just makes his case. You pick your person and you fight like hell for them. And I thought that was kind of great. It was almost a case for blind loyalty, at the expense of reason. It didn't even seem like Tyrion was necessarily arguing that Dany would be the better ruler between herself and Jon. Should we talk about that, or is there?
Well, there's so much to talk about with everything. I thought Tyrion was going to die in this episode.
Yeah, do you mean by the end?
Cersei was I thought Cersei was going to give the order, and I thought she was going to take out Tyrion, and Tyrion was going to basically go down with the ship for Daenerys.
Yeah, that would have kind of been a crummy death for Tyrion, I think. Once again,
Varys just tried to warn him.
Yeah. But for this character who's been this brilliant strategist for some of the show, a terrible strategist for a lot of the show, has been such an instrumental character for so much. Just for him to be in this desperate parlay to save the city. I mean, maybe one last attempt to rein in Daenerys' worst impulses, to save his sister. One last attempt to hedge between all of his competing interests and concerns. That would have actually maybe been a kind of cool end, but no.
if I can have one nitpick, and I this was my favorite episode of the season, I did not understand why Cersei and the Greyjoy forces did not fire one of those scorpions at Drogon, who appeared to be a sitting dragon, just seemingly within range, at the point where they behead Missandei. Why not fire a scorpion off on to Drogon?
Why not kill that whole group right there? I mean, obviously it's against the rules of the parlay, but we've never really seen.
They killed a hostage.
Yeah, why not kill Dany?
Any of those things. It did not seem like that there was an insurmountable force of the Unsullied. I mean, that they had a respectable showing, but I get the sense that they probably had less than the 2,000, or is it 2,000 or 20,000 Golden Company?
I don't remember.
I don't know. It's a number with it too, but probably 20,000. That sounds more formidable. No elephants though. But I don't know why after they already killed Rhaegal, why not attack Drogon?
Yeah, he's right there. You've got maybe they put all the crossbows on the ship. Were there any crossbows in the council?
They were all lined up with those at the surrounding the perimeter.
Yeah, wow. It really does seem like a missed opportunity to end the threat of the dragons for once, to take out Daenerys. Again, like really, huge violation of protocol, but Cersei's whole story arc has been nothing.
She does not respect the norms, Stephen.
Yeah. She did blow up the church and everyone in it. So I feel like once you've done that, that's as bad as it gets.
She plays by her own rules. The other thing that I thought was going to happen at the end of the episode, when Tyrion comes up to Cersei and makes her plea, and then he starts talking about if not for you, do it for your child. And then I felt like Euron Greyjoy is going to say, like, hold on a second. How does he know about the child? Because the last time you talked to him, that was before you and I did you know what. So how did he know about the baby?
Yeah,
maybe
soapy. Just ravens.
A little soapy.
Just assume that there's ravens going back and forth. Gossip.
Well, I thought that when he was going to start mentioning the baby, I thought then that was when Cersei was going to give the order, and it was going to be Tyrion putting his foot in his mouth, and then she was going to give the order to execute him. But you got to wonder, is Euron Greyjoy and Cersei going to have a conversation where then does Euron want to, take his fleet and go home? Does he put two and two together over that?
Probably not.
It seems, but maybe this is like the beginning of a rift between the two of them. I mean, it happened on the show. I mean, they did a lot in terms of that. The previously on was about telling us it was Jaime's baby, then we're getting Euron, and then Cersei telling Euron tonight, Euron and Qyburn giving Euron the thumbs up, and then the baby coming up again. That has to be an important moment.
Yeah, the baby is definitely going to be an important plot point, and it certainly seems like it might, play into the relationship between Euron, Cersei, and then Jaime coming down from the north, right? Is he coming down to kill her, to save the baby, to defend the baby in some crazy last gasp? One of my favorite things about this episode, and just generally the character of Cersei, is how delighted she is in her own evilness. She always has that kind of little smile on her face of just like, I'm so great. It's like, and then though, while Tyrion was talking about the baby, she had, it felt like there was this like last evocation of her humanity where she got a little bit teary-eyed. It felt like something kind of, got past that smile and really touched the inner part of her. Was there any part of you, Rob, that thought, you know what, maybe she will, maybe she'll change her ways?
Did not think that she was going to change her ways. We've gone, 8 seasons with Cersei Lannister. Did not think that just the mere mention of the baby, especially because she already duped Tyrion with that once before.
Yeah, why is Tyrion such a loser? Like he's
he lost his mojo.
He really did. I mean, he's like so consistently bad. And this is the same BS he keeps doing. He keeps on falling for this idea that like Cersei can be reasoned with. And then like immediately afterwards, he's like, oh, she got me again. And then like, and at the end of last season too, he's like, well, this time she's really with, she got me again. Really, you got to learn your lesson, buddy.
Yeah. He's lost his edge, and he is, going along with Dany, and it feels like that she's going down the wrong path. Varys had such a big episode tonight. He had been so quiet through the first 3 episodes, but he's here in a big way in this episode tonight. And I really got the sense, Steven, at the end of that conversation that I thought that Varys seems like that he's on board with some sort of assassination plot.
Or at least, supporting Jon through his more, through more devious ends, like rallying
more devious than
Jon.
Assassination?
Well, assassination is very direct, right? Like devious in terms of like, more political weaving.
Yeah.
He's not really like an assassin. I guess he's like played that card before, right?
He tried to have Daenerys killed before.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I think that sometime in these next 2 episodes, I think that Daenerys gets wise to Varys, and I think that she executes Varys.
Oh, really? So you think Varys? I think Varys is going to be one of the survivors. I think he is going to be there at the end.
Melisandre prophesies that it was going to be her fate to die in this country, like it's going to be yours, Varys, in season 7.
Yeah, but maybe he like lives out a long life as a farmer. I mean, that's something Josh is speculated about. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there was also a conversation between Dany and Varys in season 7 where she really called him out on his loyalty.
Yeah. And that seems to be, and Tyrion kind of really questioned his essential, he's always talked about how he's loyal to the realm. And I thought Tyrion had a great point. Like, what is the realm? Like, what does that even mean? And like, how does that have to do with any of this politickings? But then Varys had a great rebuttal to that, which is that, the people in this realm, the millions of people, are deeply affected by politics. It did feel like it felt like a very timely argument in terms of, how much does politics matter to the individual at a local level?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And Steven, I guess let's bring Jon Snow into all this because in some ways, classic Jon Snow, classic stupid, dumb Jon Snow, where he can't leave well enough alone. All of the partying going on in King's Landing, all of the, happiness and merriment, he can't just let it be, where he feels he needs to tell Sansa and Arya about his true lineage. And Daenerys and him, they have a scene together. She begs him, don't do this.
Yeah.
Don't do this.
Yeah. He doesn't want to be king. He doesn't want the right. He was very happy with her as queen. Like everything works out for Jon and for Dany if Jon can just keep his trap shut.
Yeah. And I thought there was a really great moment in the beginning of the episode where it was Tormund who was the one that was really putting his foot in his mouth where he was like, here's to Jon Snow. What a guy. Greatest guy. Is he a king? Is he a madman? He rode a dragon. Can you believe this guy? And Daenerys, the room sort of went quiet around her. And we really focused in on her and got her POV on it. And Varys was the only one that really caught what was going on there. And Jon is this person who he's loved by the masses.
Yeah, I also like that they mentioned the whole and he came back from the dead. Mm-hmm. This guy came back from the dead. Isn't that crazy? Because it doesn't seem like it's brought up enough that he came back from the dead.
He seems like the kind of guy people would want to go have a beer with.
Yeah, and or resurrect.
Mm-hmm. And Daenerys is looking at this. She's like, "Boy, I don't like this." And then they had that conversation, and she's like, "Okay, just promise me that you will not say anything about you being the rightful heir to the throne to anybody." It's like, "Well, I'm Jon Snow. That's kind of my thing. I have to be completely honest with people." And this got them into hot water back in season 7, where they ended up that Cersei said, "Okay, all you have to do is, I think that what did she want? You'll remain in the north." And he's like, "Oh, I can't. I made a promise to my queen." And then Cersei's like, "Oh, deal's off. That's it." And everyone's like, "You idiot! Why can't you just tell one lie?"
Yeah. It does feel like Jon is out of a sort of like different novel. It's like everyone in this Game of Thrones is so world weary. They're all so like exhausted. They're so cynical and bitter by the incredible, terrible things that have all happened to them. So much of this episode was just about like, I used to be a different person and now I'm deeply scarred.
Mm-hmm.
Except Jon is like, I must not tell a lie. He's like out of some like swords and sorcery.
He's Ned Stark. And I wonder that is it going to be Jon's ultimate fate to suffer the same destiny as not his true father, but the man who raised him, Ned Stark? Will he ultimately die for that not being able to just tell this lie?
Yeah, I mean, that is sort of where I was going, was the idea that, this whole, the whole point of Game of Thrones is just that is not right. That story is not a realistic story. Like that story is not true.
Which story is not a realistic story? Game of Thrones?
Yeah. Well, the idea that like the noble knight like charges off and saves the world and is never threatened, like everyone in this war is deeply traumatized. And yes, obviously dragons and direwolves.
The Night King.
And people coming back from the dead Night King. Well, the Night King is a metaphor. And everyone, but anyway, so if Jon, to me, like this episode and like him refusing to lie about that was like the purest sign that he is definitely going to die by the end of this series, because like that character cannot live through this. It would be too absurd if that character lived through
Will Daenerys kill Jon Snow?
Maybe he dies taking her out. I mean, that was something certainly we've talked about. Her killing him and him never having actually done anything particularly noble would be, I guess he did take out Ramsay Bolton. But not really, right? He didn't even really take out Ramsay Bolton.
It was a group effort.
Yeah. But really, the Knights of the Vale came and smashed Ramsay.
Well,
Bolton.
I mean that not to replay the Battle of the Bastards, but yeah, Jon Snow and his forces were defeated. The Knights of the Vale came through, and then one the Giant had a lot to do with busting the door open, and then in hand-to-hand combat, he did best Ramsay.
So I do wish. I want like some big moment for Jon, right? Like he's got to have like something. And I certainly didn't need him to take out the Night King. I thought it was really cool that Arya did it, but I want him to have something.
Mm-hmm. I don't know. Oh, that it looks like that he is going to have this claim, and it is something that really is going to potentially be what is going to drive this wedge between him and Daenerys.
Yeah, it certainly does look like it's just not something that she's going to be able to get over. He can't keep his fat trap shut.
Well,
Sansa and Arya,
they don't keep the fat trap shut. He let the cat out of the bag, and he had to tell Sansa and Arya about it. And Bran was like, "Well, basically, I won't say anything if you won't." And
it's your choice.
It's your choice. And then,
which is a weird take from Bran. Isn't Bran's whole thing like it's all destined? It's all been determined before.
Yeah, why not pick Bran's brain about what's the right move here?
Yeah, it does. It feels like Bran is very, he's very like sanguine about fate and everything until maybe he could weigh in a little bit. This is an opportunity for him to actually weigh in.
Yeah, it's like should I tell them or no? Tell us what. Yeah. Don't worry about it. Hold on a second. Bran, what do you think?
My favorite, I mentioned this on our last podcast or 2 episodes ago, but I just love how like everyone's reaction to Bran, because it's always so cryptic, and they're like everyone who except the person who knows what he's talking about is always like, okay, yeah, thanks. Okay, good. Well, good pointed.
Yeah. I guess since we're talking about Bran, there was the conversation. Was it with Tyrion? About basically talking about how Tyrion said like, I envy you, and he said, well, I spend most of my time in the past. Steven, could this be a hint at time traveling Bran Stark?
Definitely
Bran
not.
the Builder.
No,
we're not doing that.
I mean, because he's like looking at the past, right? That's what he's doing. He's like spending most of his time like looking at the past.
Okay, all right.
I just think like the level of explanation that would have to maybe that pays off in the books. Like I'm not going to like deny the possibility of that, but like the 10 minutes of explanation that would be required, when every second of this show is so precious, I just don't buy it.
Okay. All right.
No one's gonna even know who. Are you actually bullish on that, or are you just sort of like positing it as a?
I'm throwing it out there. I
Yeah.
don't see how we can get there with 2 episodes left.
Yeah,
But
it would be.
we'll see. Maybe it was a prequel series. Okay. So, Steven, next week, do you think that we see the fall of King's Landing?
Yeah, I do think so. Do you?
Yeah, I think that if I had to chart out how these next 2 episodes are going to go, I do think that Cersei will be defeated in this next episode. And then I think that the final episode will deal with the ultimate
Jon
claim.
versus Dany.
Yeah, Jon and Daenerys sorting that out.
Yeah, that makes sense to me. That next episode is the downfall of Cersei, and then the final episode is really just like figuring out the fate of the realm moving forward.
Yeah. And we'll see. Ultimately, it looks, still pretty summery in King's Landing.
Yeah, is winter going to come to King's Landing? That's a really good question.
They did talk about it, that it was winter still in the episode, but I think that we will not see it snow again in the entire series.
I mean, it's like when winter in Miami, it's like slightly colder, it's like the high 50s.
Right. But last season, there was a snowflake on Jaime's glove. It's like, oh, winter has reached King's Landing. But
yeah,
I don't know. Unless we have a time jump between episode 5 and 6.
Yeah, they can't afford the snowflake effect anymore. That's why they had to send Ghost north. They couldn't deal with that. Was such a bummer. Like that doesn't even make sense.
Let's talk through everything from Winterfell in this episode, and we have a lot of headlines, a lot of goodbyes, but I think we have to start with Jaime and Sir Brienne of Tarth.
Wow, what a cad! What a cad! I thought Jaime had turned a new leaf, and he's just like breaking women's hearts.
Yeah, that was really wild. I thought that we were going to get Brienne and Tormund. Maybe
really was, yeah.
Right.
Tormund would have treated her. Tormund wouldn't have done that to her.
Yeah, I think that maybe Tormund might have lost out with when he wanted to know which villain was responsible for soiling his pants.
Yeah, that's not a great pickup line.
No, it's not. Maybe in the North it works. But I really was surprised that we got Jaime and Brienne. And then it didn't seem like it was a one-night stand, Steven. It seemed like that it was almost like that we were shipping Jaime and Brienne. And then suddenly I thought that Jaime really did Brienne dirty at the end of the episode.
Yeah, it looked like maybe a little romance had sparked. But then when Jaime learns that what's gone on with Daenerys and the fleet, he runs down south. But again, like, is he running? He's running down south to kill her, right?
I don't know if I got that. What was the line that he said? That he said that Cersei is what?
I was like not a good person, and I'm not a good person either. I don't remember the exact words, because he was like, I pushed a boy out of a window for her. I strangled my cousin to death for her. I would have killed every person in River Run for her. What was the actual line? I don't have the actual line offhand. But the point is,
she's hateful. She's hateful, and so am I.
But that could mean I'm going to defend her, but it also could mean like I'm going to redeem myself by like ending it.
Yeah, over that she took she killed the dragon and took Missandei. That was what got Jaime to go and say, you know what, I've had it with this Cersei.
Well, it doesn't make sense that he would go to defend her after she had a victory, right? Like he probably sees that she is actually not not in as bad shape as everyone thought. It wasn't going to be a layup invasion where. And one thing you can say for Cersei is that she is tactically smarter than the Northerners, right? And this force of Dany and Jon, which they're incredibly inhibited by their morals. They do these ridiculous just frontal assaults. They never the idea of like flanking is completely foreign to them.
You're a big flanker.
It's not just me. A lot of other people are into flanking. I think that from my read on that moment was that Jaime sees these people are not going to be able to handle Cersei because they're not on her level. Like they're like the good guys who are like charging in guns blazing, charging in, expecting a fair fight, and she's dirty. and I'm dirty, and only a dirty person is going to be dirty enough to take down Cersei.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see what we get. We had Bronn show up in this episode with the crossbow, and I kind of thought that I thought that Bronn was gonna die. I thought okay, well let's wrap up the Bronn storyline, and I thought it was almost comical, the Bronn with Tyrion and Jaime. It was fun. But I mean, why doesn't somebody kill Bronn at this point?
Yeah, well, certainly now that he's holding them hostage, and he's in Winterfell, where it's not like he has a lot of allies there. They can just be like, hey, can you arrest that guy right there, that guy. Just go arrest him.
Yeah, I mean, maybe he's hiding, but it's a little cartoony of all right, now I got this offer. Can you beat this offer? Can you he's like
but I like it. I don't mind it. I mean, I'm with you that it's silly.
It's fun, but I just thought okay, Brienne is gonna walk in and then kill Bronn. Now he's that we need you to be an officer. What is he gonna do? He's hiding out until then. He's not gonna get Highgarden.
Yeah, it's hard to hide too with a giant crossbow that you're dragging around. He's gonna there's gonna be some big noble act for Bronn, right? Because isn't his story that he secretly is a good guy?
We'll find out. I guess so. I mean, he wasn't a good guy when he punched Tyrion in the nose.
But he didn't break his nose.
Mm-hmm.
Important distinction.
Yes. And
he should know.
Steven, I jumped into the Bronn stuff, but just to go back to Jaime and Brienne, is that it for them? Does Jaime Lannister survive this and then get back to Brienne?
I'm okay. I'm into that story. I think that is what happens. Yeah. What do you think?
I don't know how Jaime survives I mean, that if you were going to be handicapping who kills Cersei, I think it's either Jaime or Arya. I think that those are really the two. And I wonder, Arya got the Night King. I don't know if she's going to get to kill both the big bads in the series.
That would be too much. I definitely think Jaime kills Cersei, but I don't think it's impossible that he kills her without dying.
I don't know. I don't know if does he want to go on living without Cersei.
He's got Brienne to go back to. Maybe he can go back to her, and they can have a nice little little moment.
Yeah, I do think that because of the Brienne side, I think there's more of a chance of him surviving this than before. But yeah,
that's the thing. They've both been they both suffered so much that I feel like it almost makes it likelier that they'll make it through. I mean, not that suffering is necessarily a metric for survivability in Game of Thrones, but I have high hopes for the two of them. I agree. I agree. I think the fact that there was a little romantic moment between those two characters makes it likelier that he will survive and come back to her, because it would be such a dick move from both Jaime and the show to have him just really be a complete cad, love her, leave her, never come back to her. I think that would be too much.
Brienne, she had two guys fighting over her, and then she ends up with zero.
Yeah, one goes north, one goes south.
Yeah. It's tough. Lots of other goodbyes in this episode, and we saw the Tormund scene. Tormund says goodbye to Jon, sends Ghost on his way. I really felt like that Ghost got a raw deal.
I know, justice for Ghost. I mean, I really think that it's totally, he's had basically nothing to do this season. We saw him, last episode sort of charging into the fray. Then we kind of see him looking a little bit beat up, like everyone else does now, kind of like he got in a fist fight. Really, I feel like that's one of the big misses of this season, in general, of the series in general, is that Ghost is such a cool character, and I really want more from Ghost.
Yeah, but Jon's not a Stark anymore. Has no use for a direwolf.
That's outrageous.
He's a dragon.
No,
he had
no.
Maybe
that's outrageous.
Maybe he'll get Ghost back.
Jon is very cavalier with his, magical animals. Yeah.
So we had that goodbye scene. We had a goodbye with Sam and Gilly. Congratulations to Gilly. She becomes the ninth woman who's currently pregnant on the show.
Is that a true running total? Or,
you have Cersei, you have Dany, you have Gilly. I don't know if anybody else is with child. Maybe Brienne.
I guess. I mean, I guess.
A lot of that going around right now.
Right.
Watch out, Arya.
Yeah, and you, but you're bullish that we're going to get more Sam when the season closes.
Yes, he's writing, and then Once Upon a Time in Winterfell, and close the book. Yeah, I think we have to see Sam again. I don't think this could be a wrap for Sam and Gilly.
Right. Definitely at least one more like goodbye moment in the last episode.
Probably not next week, and then I think we'll see them back in the final episode of the series. We had a goodbye with Arya and Gendry. Gendry had the big moment at the top of the episode where Daenerys made him the Lord of Storm's End. I did love where she's calling him out and then asks him, "Who's the Lord of Storm's End?" He's like, I have no idea. She's like, does anybody know? Who's like, which is funny.
I was feeling like bad for that guy, because I missed dinner. Like suddenly I had my castle taken from me.
Yeah.
If I like just shown up for that.
I thought it was a funny call out that the show never went there other than, Davos and Melisandre, like birthing the smoke monster. We never got to see Storm's End in Game of Thrones. We have no idea what's happening there. So I thought does anybody know? So Gendry is now the Lord of Storm's End. And so he goes and basically makes this 5 oof proposal to Arya. And I wrote in my notes before she even said it. That's not me. This was coming a mile away.
Yeah, that was never going to happen. And it makes perfect sense. Not at all Arya, and it totally suggested, honestly, the fact that even Gendry asked that was a little bit like insulting, like he should know her better than that by now.
Did you see the last episode? I killed the Night King.
Yeah. I'm not going to be like
Mrs. Gendry. Yeah. You weren't even on 3 of the seasons.
Yeah.
Get out of here,
where were you
Gendry.
at, like the Night King battle? Where was he? I don't remember him being any of his heroics.
Right. Get out of here, Gendry.
Yeah.
But the Hound also had a nice episode. He has a nice scene with each of the Stark sisters.
Yeah. Great scene with Sansa where he says, if you had left here with me, none of this would have happened.
Yeah. She's like, well, if it wasn't for, everything that I went through, I'd still be that little bird.
That's really dark. That's a dark perspective.
Yes, but that I kind of feel like that, all of the suffering that all these characters went through,
it's made them who they are.
I feel like at least it gives it some meaning.
Right. And now she is like, up to the challenges that she's facing, which is largely managing stores.
Right. I think that some people have accused the show of having, more of a nihilistic worldview of that, these characters are just suffering for our enjoyment. But at least that Sansa recognizes that, well, yes, I suffered, but, I look at how much I've grown.
Yeah. Yeah, that's exactly right. And then you have the Hound with Arya leaving the castle together, both on their way to Winterfell to finish unfinished business. Now we know what the Hound's is, right? The Hound is going to kill his brother.
The one thing that might make him happy.
Yeah, is to kill or re-kill his brother. Was Gregor ever officially dead? He was poisoned. I guess he died. Mostly dead, but was ever actually anyway. And who's Arya going to kill?
Well, I think she's going to go to kill Cersei. I think that's the last name that's on her list.
Is the Mountain not on her list too?
But she's going to let the Hound have that one.
Yeah, but I agree. It's unlikely that Arya kills Cersei. Does that mean Cersei's going to kill Arya?
That's certainly a possibility. I know that you have been bullish in the past that Arya is not going to make it, Steven. Have you adjusted that?
I was convinced by Wiggler. I think Wiggler's argument was...
He gave credit to you.
Oh, no, I definitely got the idea from him. Okay.
All right. Well, then, are you still on board?
Yeah, I think it's hard to say because last episode was such a cop out in terms of killing characters. It kind of changed my perspective. Like maybe Arya not only lives, but gets therapy, finds a happy relationship, and reunites with Nymeria. But overall, other than last week's live in whatever we're calling it, the fact that they refuse to kill anybody, I do think that true to the spirit of the show, Arya should die.
Oh boy.
because it's terrible, because it's the worst possible. And for those who did not hear last week and have not heard Josh say this, the idea is that because the only truly like horrible death at this point would be Arya's death, that like that's the one that has to happen because it's like the one we could bear the least.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think she's gonna make it, but we'll see. We'll see. They would have that would be a very bold choice, and I have to respect bold choices.
Yeah, well, exactly. I mean, and that's what this show is about. It's about bold choices.
Yes. All right. And speaking,
got to make big moves to write this show.
Speaking of bold choices, Stephen, let me take a moment and thank our sponsor, and those are our friends over at Blue Diamond Almonds. Because if you're watching Game of Thrones, you must be tired of the same boring snacks. Not me. Because check out what I have here. I've got.
Oh wow, you've got them.
I've got the Blue Diamond honey roasted flavored almonds. I've got
a nice container too. It looks like it's a very snackable container.
Very snackable container. I've got the bold sriracha flavored almonds, and then of course the wasabi and soy sauce flavored almonds. And why keep snacking on boring chips when you can go to the store and pick up Blue Diamond almonds, whether you're going to work, bored at work, leaving work. Almonds are a perfect snack anytime. Stephen, let's just have let's reenact this battle tonight. So this is if the wasabi and soy sauce flavored almonds were the Greyjoy fleet, another bold group, bold pairing. The sriracha, I guess, would be Daenerys's dragon.
Sure, of course, the dragons.
The honey roasted almonds, would that be the Lannister forces still in King's Landing?
Yeah, that makes sense. Like the golden Lannisters.
Right. You can take them out and then eat them as you're planning out your next military move. All the flanking that you're doing, whatever the moment. Blue Diamond almonds is the perfect snack. Don't deny your cravings. Go pick up some great flavors right now and eat them. Blue Diamond almonds. Crave victoriously. I ate about half this can of the honey roasted almonds.
What's the top? It looks very like, is it a plastic? It looks like a very easily resealable. That's great.
Yeah.
Resealable top is crucial for something like that. I was just, when you get a bag of chips and you have like, you open it.
Forget it.
What do I do?
Get a clothespin? Yeah, get out of here. Okay. All right. Stephen, any other thoughts for this episode? I start to bring in some questions.
Well, I do want to talk, and maybe we'll do this through the questions about that conversation between Tyrion and Varys, and like what you think and what we think. What is the correct choice here? Like, is it Dany or is it Jon? However, I also need to get my computer charger because when I was getting like all of my health stuff, I forgot my charger. So I'll give you 30 seconds. I'll be right back.
Okay. All right. As we're waiting for Stephen to come back, Mr. Robot Taran asks if Gendry got friend zoned by Arya, and I have to say that was a resounding yes. I think that he got into the Gend zone. Sorry. Gendry, apologize for that one. Jason on Twitter asks us if no hug for Ghost. And I really don't know why Jon didn't at least like pet him. He really seemed like, was Jon mad at Ghost for something? He gave him really no affection whatsoever for Ghost. Not cool. The Starks maybe are not great direwolf owners. If you don't love your direwolf, then you shouldn't have one. Okay. Stephen, not even a pat on the head for Ghost?
Sorry, say again?
Not even a pat on the head for Ghost?
Nothing. And like he was all talking about how like Sam is his best friend. It didn't need to give anything to Ghost. It's outrageous.
That's right. Okay. All right. Megan Z wants to know, did you think at any point that Dany was going to take out Sansa? Worst sister-in-law ever. Sansa did not seem happy at any point in this episode.
Sorry, say again. My volume's all screwed up.
Did Sansa, did you think at any point that Dany was going to take out Sansa as a terrible sister-in-law?
I didn't. I mean, because like, I think I feel like Sansa is safe right now, right? I think Sansa's like made it through. She's the Lady of Winterfell. I think where she's like pretty secure in that position. What do you think there's any chance that there will be danger for Sansa later in the sort of final kind of showdown between all of the various Starks and Targaryens?
Well, I feel like that the characters that are in Winterfell right now are all fine. There's no imminent danger to them. So I think that Sansa, there's nothing really to worry about. I'm not sure how they're necessarily involved in the politicking moving forward, where I don't know if then Sansa is going to join up with Jon and Daenerys maybe after we have Cersei's forces defeated in that final episode, and then she could be a witness to everything that's going on.
Yeah, I mean, there has to be some moment where Sansa is right, like that, because she's such a big force in that, right, in this kind of these two diametric forces that Jon is torn between. Sansa is the representative of one, right? Dany's representative of one of the forces, right? Like he's in love with Dany. He thinks she should be queen, and Sansa is really more the advocate for Jon as king than Jon himself is. So I think that Sansa, like as the representative of that, is going to have to play some role in that kind of like final negotiation, whatever that big end, the real end moment is.
Okay. Zach Brooks wants to know what stopped Dany from pulling the Dracarys trigger on Euron. Were you surprised that Dany did not torch any of Euron's fleet as she buzzed them?
Yeah, I was. I mean, it seemed like she was surprised by the fleet, although it also seemed like they were supposed to be ambushing the fleet. And again,
I don't think they were expecting the fleet at Dragonstone.
Yeah. I was. I guess the fleet, managed to surprise them. And again, like they've never been big on doing like checking, doing research, doing scouting.
No, they don't do that. Only if Bran can warg into ravens and then go see what's going on. It's the only time they get involved with that.
Why doesn't he do that? Why doesn't he do that for this?
Got other stuff on his mind. So, Stephen, if I may make 1 second nitpick on this episode, the kidnapping of Missandei, I felt like that seemed like very targeted in terms of that they blew up the fleet. Every other person from the Unsullied swam to shore. Is Missandei just, she can't swim and she was just like bobbing along and then they ended up she was easy to capture?
Yeah, I guess so. Or maybe they certainly knew who she was. That kind of thing doesn't really bother me because it's a TV show, right? It's not a real fleet crashing. It's like,
I think Grey Worm told her get to the skiff, so maybe she was like just a sitting duck in the boat.
Right, she was in the rescue skiff. It turns out, like, she shouldn't have gone to the skiff. She should have like jumped overboard, like Tyrion.
Yeah. Okay. Let's see. Brendan Fitzpatrick, what stopped Cersei from pulling the trigger on Tyrion? I've never been that nervous for that guy in 8 seasons of the show. I also kind of think she should have. Is that blasphemy? Yeah. Why didn't Cersei take out Tyrion?
Yeah, it probably would have been the right move. I mean, it is such a weird thing. Like, why not kill him? Maybe because she knows that he gives Dany such terrible advice.
Yes, that's he's been working for the Lannisters the whole time.
Yeah, or even if he's not like explicitly a mole, maybe she realizes that, like, to be fair, like Tyrion is probably the best thing that Cersei has going for her right now. In as much as Tyrion is constantly telling Dany not to do a full frontal assault, not to just like roast King's Landing, and he's been probably the reason that Cersei is still in power.
Okay, let's see. Humberto says, can this Cersei baby be exiled and in 15 years we see him with a lion as the last scene of the show plotting to take back his throne?
Wait, say that again?
Could Cersei's baby live in exile, similar to Daenerys, and return with a lion to retake the throne?
Actually, that would be a really cool ending because it certainly would be true to the idea, right, that of Game of Thrones, that like it's not like there's a neat ending for war. It's not like you win a battle and then everything is solved. Although that was the case with the Night King. you know, at least in terms of the realms of humanity, you know, winning the battles just creates more enemies and more vendettas and more problems down the line. So that would be really cool if Cersei's, you know, if that was kind of the end. It was like Cersei's child being raised in exile. That, you know,
Okay.
by Varys.
In terms of the people that told each other, where we got all these people knowing the secret, like I just want to know that who made the worst moves of telling people. So Jon, unquestionably bad, told Arya and Sansa. Did Sansa get duped by Tyrion when Tyrion talked about, like, well, your brother once told me he's not a Stark?
No, I don't think she was.
She's like, well, funny you should mention that.
Yeah.
So
I think, I mean, you know what? Jon definitely made made the worst decision. Like, Sansa is not invested in keeping that secret. In fact, Sansa is invested in having that secret be public. So Jon, who actually wants the secret to be private, like, for him to tell someone who doesn't want that secret to be private is pretty stupid.
Mm-hmm. And then, was it a big mistake for Tyrion to tell Varys?
No, again, like, what is, you know, I mean, maybe actually that's interesting because, like, Tyrion is also invested in that secret being private. But Tyrion's a plotter. He likes to talk through things, right? He's like a, you know, he's one of these, like, post-show, you know, quarterbacks who, like, likes to analyze everything, but isn't really necessarily great at, like, implementing things himself.
Yeah, I don't know anybody like that.
Yeah.
Okay, Steven, anything else that you want to say from tonight?
Yeah, I mean, what do you think of that Varys Tyrion conversation? Like, do you think it's so clear? Like, who do you think would be the better king? Because from my perspective, they're both terrible. I mean, yes. Dany was a great queen,
but for different reasons. That Jon is terrible. He doesn't really want the job. I mean, do you want to have, like, the reluctant ruler or the overzealous ruler?
I mean, theoretically, the idea is you want the person who doesn't want to rule, right? Because they're not going to be, like, crazy about their power. But I mean, Dany she's been a pretty good ruler, right? I mean, maybe she hasn't been the most effective ruler with Meereen. She didn't do a great job, you know, of quelling dissent there. But her heart was in the right place.
Yeah, she's a wartime ruler. I don't know. I feel like that she doesn't really get bogged down with the details. And I think that in terms of ruling, I do think the devil is in the details.
Yeah.
Sansa should be on the Iron Throne.
Well, that's the thing. Sansa's the only person who cares about the grain stores. Sansa should be on the Iron Throne. That would be a pretty good ending. Sansa as queen.
Yes, I don't know how we get there with Sansa as queen. I guess that it would have to be if you wanted to fit, like, does because it gets screwed up because of if anybody knows Jon's, like, Jon would have to be installed not as Aegon Targaryen, as sort of the person who is the conquering hero of King's Landing, then put onto the throne, and then having then being taken out, and then I guess Sansa would be his next heir.
Yeah, that's I guess that's a pretty unlikely scenario.
And also Daenerys with I mean, it has not been confirmed that Daenerys and Jon are having a baby. I'm presuming.
Yeah, I thought that was a big presumption.
Yeah, you don't think that Daenerys is pregnant?
I don't know. I don't think so. I don't think so.
Okay. I've never been more sure of something in my life.
Oh my God!
But
really?
the knowing is snow it all on the line for that one.
Oh, wow. Okay. I'm willing to do that.
There you go.
Yeah.
All right. So, hashtag Dany is pregnant. Hashtag Dany is not pregnant.
Yeah. I like it. Okay. That's pretty good.
All right. Steven Fishback, thanks again for staying up late. And I know that some people in the chat are asking, hey, what's with Steven? Does he have, like, a quiver of arrows going on there? Steven had shoulder surgery last week.
Yeah. So I am still recuperating. But you know, and that's it. That's all there is to say about it.
Okay. All right. Steven, feel better. Everybody, thank you for joining us here live. Get your questions in for our Game of Thrones feedback show when Josh and I are going to break down everything from this very exciting episode. A lot happened and a lot is set into motion for next week. We'll be live again. You can send your questions in GOT@postshowrecaps.com. Make sure you subscribe to the podcast, postshowrecaps.com/iTunes. Take care, everybody. Have a good night. Bye.